Hello. So there's this question as to what I should be allowed to do at work, and we ask all kinds of people, and people talk about things like, I should be able to slap my coworkers, and I should be able to offend others, and I should be able to take off whenever I want to. And I find that interesting because it shows that there is an impulse within the human spirit to express itself, express what we have inside. We may have frustrations and we may have a desire to be elsewhere, and we want to be able to express those desires. And it's interesting. But there's another point that I have not heard about, and I'd like to share that with you, which is this. What is the purpose of work? See, most people think of work as a way of making a living. In other words, working is something that I have to do in order to make money, to pay the bills, buy food, shelter, clothing, that kind of thing, entertainment, and so forth. If that's all work is, then we have a pretty difficult existence. I remember many, many years ago, I used to work at the university, at the state university, and I taught engineering. And oftentimes a student would come over to the office and ask me whether you could make a good living as an engineer. And I would always say the same thing. I would say, well, if what you're really after is making more money, perhaps there are other careers or other endeavors that you could pursue where you could make more money. I would say to them, don't think of education as simply a means of making money. It is true statistically that those with a college education end up making more money than those without a college education on the average. But there are remarkable examples of people who did not attend college and make huge amounts of money. And there are people who did go to college and don't make that much money, obviously. But statistically, when you look at the overall average, those with an education make more money. However, if that's your motivation, then college is going to be a miserable experience. Same thing applies with work. If the only reason for going to work is to make money, to make a living, to be able to buy things, then we have a pretty miserable experience at work. And of course, we're going to feel like slapping our coworkers. Of course, we're going to feel like taking off whenever we want to. How about we take a more philosophical approach? How about we think of work as an opportunity to excel? How about we think of work as a venue through which we can reach personal excellence? We can become better. Imagine a world in which you're the only person. I mean, this is such an isolated place. There's nobody else around. There are no mirrors. You don't even have a body. There's no light. You cannot see anything. It's just your conscience. And the question is, if nobody's watching, if there's no way to get any credit, any merit, if there's no way to look better, look good, if there's no way for anybody else to admire you, the question is, what would you do? I know it's one of those far-fetched examples because the world isn't quite like that. But imagine this. What would you do other than what we actually do to impress others and to please ourselves and to attempt to create an impression upon others of a life that really doesn't represent who we are? What would you really do? What would you work on? Would you attempt to become a better human being? Would you attempt to work on your ability to be more honest and sincere, more open? Would you work on your ability to express yourself more clearly? Would you work on your ability to create with your hands? Would you work with your ability to do different kinds of things? What would you do if nobody else were watching? In other words, what would you like to improve, master? What would you like to excel on? Think of your work as an opportunity to excel, to master, to improve on yourself. Now, I realize I've been a therapist for 20 years, and I realize that not everybody thinks the same. And I know that to think of work as an opportunity to be a better human being, to be a better version of you, may not apply to all people. But if you are one of those people who don't think of excelling, ask yourself this question. What is it exactly that bothers you the most about the world? Is it poverty? Is it disease? Is it suffering? Is it lack of resources? What is it that bothers you the most? Identify that. And perhaps your passion is to work towards the elimination of that problem. If you cannot stand illnesses and diseases, maybe you want to be some sort of healer, some sort of physician where you help people overcome diseases. In other words, either way, whether you think of excelling, whether you think of improving upon yourself through your work, or whether you think of eliminating some sort of wrong, some sort of injustice, some sort of suffering from the world, either way, you're going to work in order to excel. So how about this? I should be allowed to excel at work. I should be allowed to be the very best version of me. Whoever you work for should have to hire 3 people to substitute you were you to leave. In other words, be excellent, be good, not for anybody else, for you. It's important. Be the very best at whatever it is that you do. It doesn't matter whether you run the nation. It doesn't matter whether you are a janitor, a cleaner, a garbage collector, a president, a manager, a factory worker. It really doesn't matter. Whatever it is that you do, wherever you are right now is the best place you could be at. Whatever job you have, whatever occupation you have, even if you're a house, if you take a homemaker, if you're raising kids at home, bless you. In other words, be the very best you can possibly be and do it with joy, with a smile. In other words, be good at what you do, because let me tell you, by being good, by taking the time to observe the details and being better every day at whatever it is that you do, you will excel. You will be creating a better version of yourself every day. And that is what we should be allowed to do at work. That is what work is for. That is the purpose of work. As a result of being excellent at whatever you do, there will be enough money at the end of the week. You're going to make the money. You're going to be able to live. As a matter of fact, if you're listening to me, you have been making a living. So far, so good, right? Here we are. In other words, it's going to work out just fine. But don't do it for the money. Do it because you love it. You love what? You love improving upon yourself as a result of this exercise that we call work. You're allowed to excel at work.